more, confirm approach to place. Okay. Number 1, civil target is flight 4, Barrage, 65. 20, low. Overway.
Hello there, everybody. Welcome to another edition. Hello there, Henry and a little twisted. I couldn't spell Henry right, but welcome everybody that's tuning in and all the networks and around the world. Hopefully everybody's doing good. And Mary, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
So what are we going to talk about tonight?
I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
Well, hey, Rita, welcome to the show. And Eric and everybody, nice to have you. So, I don't know, this is going to be a little different. And yeah, thanks for joining us, Twisted. Yeah, and smash the like button and subscribe. So we're going to talk about a multitude of things. Yeah, we may do a couple of readings and so forth, talk about spiritual healings. And we got a large, hey, Curtis and your chicken. Hello, everybody, Curtis says. And we got a big shipment of crystals in. Oh, my gosh. Boxes and boxes and boxes of crystals we got to go through. We haven't got them priced yet, have we? Hello there, Norma. Welcome. Nice to have you on the show. I'm trying to give her a hard time, ladies and gentlemen. So when we're going to get the crystals up and running?
I have no clue.
She has no clue. So, spiritual healings. What are spiritual healings, Mary?
Spiritual healings are a type of healing where you bring in spiritual assistance from angels to heal repressed and stored emotions in the body to help it energetically balance out so the body can heal.
And I know, I'll just go. There you go, Reed. I'll stop it. So, and you do those remotely?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you do those remotely?
You get on a messenger or something and do it.
Well, explain to it. Give them a couple examples like you've done recently.
Well, you have to connect with the person's energetic aura, and then it's a little different. You can pull healing cards. You can send energy. You can channel energy through a pendulum, crystals. There's sound healing, different modalities that you can do to be able to send it and call in spirits to help.
Have you had any success with that?
I have.
And what kind of success have you had?
Recently, and again, this is not me. This is God and Jesus that do this. But we had one lady that came in that was about midway through her pregnancy, and she had developed 3 huge kidney stones that the doctors were telling her that they wouldn't be able to do anything because of her pregnancy. And they were talking about like surgery or lithotripsy, but they wouldn't be able to do it till after she had the baby. So brought her in. Now, this wasn't on a distance healing. This was actually in person, to clarify. And when she got here, she was very pale and almost had a grayish color to her because of the amount of pain that she was feeling. these kidney stones that she had were centimeters in size, not millimeters. One was like 5, one was 7, and one was 12. They were very, very large. That developed during the first 4 months of her pregnancy. And so we did that. And the next morning, and I mean, even when she hopped off the table, she looked so much better and saying she was feeling a lot better. And by the next morning, she sent me a picture of the kidney stone that she passed within about 12 hours with no pain, and went out shopping the next morning. And that was like the 5 centimeter one that was supposed to have had surgery or lithotripsy on.
Welcome, Judy. Yeah. Well, you know, we were watching, I think Little Twisted sent you a video about auras, didn't she?
Yep.
And what about auras? Because I know we got into aura photography. Explain that a little bit.
So everybody and everything in this universe all have energetic and energy patterns. And so a good way to explain it is if you've ever been in a room and like somebody walks in and you instantly don't like the person, or you instantly feel at ease with that person, or you feel motivated or energetic, that's the aura. So everybody's body and their aura levels, it surrounds their body, and it's like a large bubble of energy. Now, to the naked eye, like if you're just using your physical eyes, most people can't see it. Now, you can, if you train yourself to see it, and some people's spiritual eye can open and be able to see their energy patterns. So what the aura does is it surrounds you, and it can give you information about the person and their energetic state at that time. So it's basically your way of interacting with your world when you have an aura. And so sometimes when people get sick or they're not balanced, it can actually affect their aura, and you can start seeing stuff within it.
And how does mood affect auras?
Quite a bit. So like if you start getting mad or angry at somebody, hateful, it can actually change another person's aura completely. Especially like if it's a negative type of emotion. That's like, say if I was giving off a negative emotion and he come near me and he starts sensing it, it'll actually cause his aura to retract and shrink toward him to get away from mine. A lot of people don't realize that, or vice versa. So if somebody's extremely positive, they have good energy, the other person's aura will actually extend out to try to mesh with that, to vibrate and balance. So it's kind of cool how our energetic patterns match with each other and other people in our surrounding. Every living being has one, plants, animals. If you ever think about it like animals, you're sitting there and you're sad and you're not feeling good, and your dog can sense it. He also senses your aura, and they come up and they start wagging your tail and, you know, licking your face. Animals are natural healers. And then all of a sudden you instantly feel better. Well, there's a reason for it. It's not just because you bonded with that dog. It's because animals are here, and most animals have a healing energy aura. And when they get in their presence, they're actually doing their job because they're helping you.
You got that video? Can you send it to me so I can play that video a Little Twisted sent you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was, a lot of people don't know your actual environment can actually affect your aura too. And that's very surprising. We're going to play this little video Little Twisted said. A Little Twisted, that's why I had to get away from negative people because it was affecting her health. And that is so true. It actually does. And I try to explain that to people, and it is. And let me pull this video up, and let me see if I can pause it here.
So what you're seeing on this video that someone took, and so aura photography originated from something called Carillion photography. So what they've overlaid on this, even though you're not seeing the colors of the aura, you're actually seeing the energetic field that is extending off these people's bodies.
All right, in action.
The following film shows the human energy field radiating outward from the body. It dynamically changes based on the physical conditions, the feeling states, the motivations of the person, in interaction with energy radiation from objects and living things. The existence of the human energy field, or the aura, was validated and studied by over 12 years of high-frequency recordings.
Oh, I was trying to make it bigger, sorry.
The following film shows the human energy field radiating outward from the body. It dynamically changes based on the physical conditions, the feeling states, the motivations of the person, in interaction with energy radiation from objects and living things. The existence of the human energy field, or the aura, was validated and studied by over 12 years of high-frequency recordings. This film shows the field not ordinarily seen, but now visible. Like all living things, this little dog has a sizable radiant field, even when he sits quietly. Notice now, as he greets his master, the obvious love and affection between them increases the dynamic radiation from their bodies, even the dog's tail and the man's head. No wonder so many people have pets who give them pleasure and provide a vital field of energy to interact with. Wherever there is motion in the universe, there is increased flow in the field that humans interact with. See the explosive activity from the waves and from his body. Also, the electromagnetic field of the body is negatively charged or ionized, as are waves or tumbling water, which further expands and heightens his field, giving a physical exuberance and emotional excitement. No wonder that a day at the beach is so exhilarating and vitalizing. We all love a babbling brook and the freshness of outdoor vegetation and mountains. Most of us believe that it is relaxation and beauty which refreshes us. From our research, we have discovered that living plants and rarefied atmosphere provide a richer field of negative ions, which heightens and replenishes our own energy field. Notice that the man's field becomes light in color and high in frequency. It sparkles and radiates some distance from his body. See that as the child moves into the mother's field, the affection between them changes the overall field to a pink color. Individuals' fields blend and enhance when there is a warm, caring relationship. These energy fields are the largest and the whitest that we have shown. She is Oming. On the breath inhalation, the radiant field diminishes, and on exhalation, it expands and envelops the child. We have known for a long time that Gregorian chants, oming, humming, singing, and whistling create an energy which perks up emotions and brings an expanded consciousness.
And that's why it's important to also understand that people that are not good for you in your life, bad relationships, bad people, like Little Twisted said, and other people are mentioning, you don't need them in your life. You got to cut them because it will affect your health and other things. And that's what I think John just mentioned about his dog. It's very close with him. And if you go back and look at that link that Little Twisted dropped, you can see the aura of the dog with the human and how they interacted and coincide and wrapped and vortex with each other. It's very interesting. And that's why we got into aura photography. Yeah, Amy says she's been listening to a lot of the chants. It truly works. You know, it really does, especially grounding yourself, wearing no shoes out in the yard. But no, if you have any questions about auras, let us know. I just wanted to mention that and show that little video, Little Twisted sent. Another thing I want to talk about is spiritual attacks. What is a spiritual attack? How can you find what is a spiritual attack? What causes a spiritual attack? And how do you defeat them? A lot of people really don't understand what they are. And I'll let Mary start. What is a spiritual attack?
So in our earthly realm that we have here, which is what we all see and experience, there's also another realm, the spiritual realm. It is invisible, of course, again, to the naked eye. Now, if your spiritual eye opens up, you can actually see the spiritual realm, and it'll look like almost like a camera filter on top of the earth that you see and perceive as we speak today. A spiritual attack, excuse me, can happen when you have beings of light and you have beings of darkness. And so demonic entities, stuff of that nature. So a spiritual attack typically happens on people when they are trying to come into the light, and they can come across and come after them because they do not want them trying to connect with source or with God. And so a spiritual attack can happen in many different ways. There can be lineage line generational curses where it's just already been placed from somebody in the past, in your past lineage line, and it's been given permission to keep attacking you. That's a very common one that a lot of people like say every one of your family members consistently has like heart problems, or they have head injuries, or they have real bad depression. Those are spiritual attacks that have been placed on a family lineage line. If someone is jealous of you, if someone's cursing you, if someone is mad at you, like repeatedly, like with an exuberant amount of energy, what that does is that actually attracts dark forces and demonic entities to feed off of that, and they will go after that person. Again, that's why if you go and you reference it to the Bible, they tell you to have a pure heart and pure mind, and bridle your tongue. You don't say those type of things because you don't realize in this realm what it does, and it elicits in the spiritual realm. So what you think and you feel and you speak actually rises up, and it goes into another realm. And when it goes there, there's all these forces that are coming against you that most people are not aware of. So it can become very scary, but most people don't have any clue that that's what's going on. And that's where we wanted to talk to everybody about, so they know signs of a spiritual attack and how you can fight it. The only way that you can fight a spiritual attack is with the Lord. If something is coming after you hardcore, nothing else will get rid of that. And so they will, the more you try to get closer and build up into the light, they're going to see and sense it, and they're going to try to prevent you from going and developing into the purpose that God wants you to have. So it's just very, very important to always be cognitive and pray and ask for discernment from the Lord about, give me wisdom to what's going on with the situation. Not everything is a spiritual attack, but there's a lot of them, and people do not realize people get attacked in their sleep when they're vulnerable. It happens all the time. There are stuff everywhere. Now, there are angels everywhere also, and the good guys, but in order for them to help you or help you achieve what you need, you have to pray, because the thing about it is, and most people don't realize, God gave Satan this realm to control, and he has free will to do whatever he wants. Demons don't need permission to mess with you, but angels have to be asked to assist unless God has a divine purpose from you and it's like life-threatening. Then they will come in and they will help. So again, that's why the Bible always talks about ask and you shall receive. So if you want their help, you want protection, get rid of that stuff, you got to ask for it. It won't just happen. And so some of the signs and stuff that someone could be under a spiritual attack. So say like you're getting along with somebody really well and it was wonderful, and then like all of a sudden, bam, it like hits you. I can't stand this person. I don't like this person. Everything this person's doing is irritating me. Feelings of anger out of nowhere. It could be trouble sleeping. Start having nightmares. It could be physical. Your body starts feeling really bogged down, heavy, like something's really bothering you. You might see objects move, and if it starts getting really bad, you could have objects, lights flickering, stuff disappearing, accusations. You could have the kindest person that's been so nice to everybody, and all of a sudden that person is mad at you and cussing you out, and they've never acted like that in their life. That is signs of a spiritual oppression coming against you. And so it's very, very hard. And a lot of people don't realize when they are experiencing spiritual attacks or stuff like that, not only are you supposed to pray, but there is a reason why it's being drawn to you. Are you constantly fearing everything in life? Are you afraid to move ahead? That is very correct, Twisted. He will restore your soul. That is absolutely, that is so much the truth. And so when you're being attacked, like, people don't realize there's certain emotions in your body that attracts those. So if you harden your heart to somebody, and one of the worst ones that prevent people from connecting and reaching with God is the act of unforgiveness. Unforgiveness causes you to hold and harbor bad, angry, resentful feelings that demons feed off of. And so in order to go into the light and to receive Jesus, what does the Bible tell you? You have to forgive people and forgive others, or I won't forgive you. There's a reason for it. You cannot enter the gates of heaven with a closed heart. And so that is one of the biggest ones that I've ever seen, are people that are prideful and refuse to forgive. And that can be a major one for people. Another one, and certain types that can happen, is relationships, marriage. Satan doesn't want you to be married. They don't want you to, because when there's two in unity that believe in God, that's a very powerful force. The Bible says where two or more stand, that's where it comes from. And so Satan and the spiritual realm will do anything humanly possible to destroy a marriage or a relationship, to make sure that they do not come into unity before God. And so that's another big one. Stuff can happen, like, say, all of a sudden you start noticing like weird animals hanging around your house, birds acting weird, spiders coming out of nowhere, bugs coming out of nowhere. It's the middle of winter, you never have them, stuff like that. They'll just show up randomly. Those are what people refer to as monitoring spirits, and what a lot of people struggle to understand, that the spiritual realms can manifest in physical form. And there are certain demonic forces that are sent to monitor you. They monitor you, your family members. They do all of this stuff. That is very true, Twisted. He divides families. That is very correct. That is very correct. That is one of the main tactics that Satan uses, is division. And so when they come through in a physical form, you may just think it's a regular spider, but it's an actual demon sent to watch and monitor you. And so what they do is they're going to try to get insight into what are your weaknesses, so they know how to attack and keep you from coming into the light.
For example, we were talking to somebody, and they were explaining to us that in the middle of January, every time that they were in a discussion with God, they would open the back door. In the middle of January, a single fly would fly into the living room. Ladies and gentlemen, explain to me where a fly comes from in the middle of winter. Explain that to me. A fly. No, that does not happen. Also, we were discussing, and it was brought to our attention, that every time that they would talk, a spider would appear in front of them on the floor. Just a little spider. And it happened over and over in the middle of winter. In a CIA drone, right? Latro, there we go. But then it was, as we talked with the people, they were talking about things like beetles would come up to the glass door and sit there and watch them as they would talk in the middle of winter. A beetle. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the middle of winter. There ain't no bugs. I mean, not when it's negative 3 or 4 degrees. Bugs are not out. So, yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. And a lot of people that when you try to have a discussion with them are like, Grizzly, you're crazy. I know I'm crazy. I got a psychiatrist that they think I'm nuts because I look into Bigfoot. So, yeah, absolutely. But if you go by the biblical reference and you start talking to people and you don't know the knowledge and they start telling you things, and you have somebody, hey, Brian, nice to see you. And yeah, I'll turn the heat down. But the thing, though, is yes, in the fall, bugs will come in for the heat, right? Because you always have that. But not in January or late December when you got 2 or 3 inches of snow. It doesn't happen. But if you stop and think about what she's saying, it does happen. And a lot of people don't understand it because they don't believe it. It's not real because it hasn't happened to them.
Can you pull a little twisted?
Yeah, I'm getting there. But, you got to stop and think about that. And if you have people that are not acting right, yeah, I mean, you got depression. You got people that have anxiety. I mean, there's other symptoms, right? But you also have to stop and think about other things. A little twist, it says, I had a demon push me down and shatter my wrist. Then I got shingles on my face and head. Then I had a stroke that supposedly they cannot trace. And this is what we're talking about. How many times have we heard people that had undiagnosed medical conditions that the doctor's like, I don't know how you got this. I don't know how this happened. I don't know how they passed away. I don't know what caused their heart attack. I don't know what caused their stroke. I don't know what caused the accident. I don't know what caused the tire to blow out. Now, there are some things that can be expressed by scientific. Don't get me wrong. Yes. And not everything we see in the paranormal field or in the Bigfoot world is Bigfoot or paranormal or a demon. Don't get me wrong. We're not saying that. But if you stop and think what Mary's trying to explain to you, you have to step back and say, is this a possibility? Because if it is a possibility and you pray and you bless your rooms in your house like we used to do on our other shows we had, and it stops and it ceased, what does that tell you? What does that explain to you? But when you hear people, and then when I personally witness the spiders, ladies and gentlemen, when I witness the spiders, I'm telling you, there's something to it. If somebody would have told me this, yeah, I probably would have sat there and be like, okay, and just took a mental note and been like, yeah, okay, because mental illness is an issue. And I told you all before on other shows years ago when I took psychology when I got hurt, I had a problem with the professor because I think that people that have psychic abilities, I think their third eye open and they seen into the spirit world and they seen the heavenly realm and the hell realm, and they couldn't handle what they saw or what they hear, and they go insane. Caveat to that, mental illness is an issue in the world and in America, and I'm not trying to discount that. But how can you explain some of these things that happen with people that we know that are sane, that confide to us, and then I personally witness some of these encounters, and it's like, you cannot explain it away. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, standing stones. Yeah, I mean, because you don't see spiders in February when it's right now 31 degrees and it's at night. A spider walks across the back patio porch when it's not even 2 degrees outside. Hello? That does not make sense. I love biology. I love insects. I love animals. Just like when I caught that flying rod 2 years ago out in my woods back in Kentucky. A lot of people are like, well, it's an insect. Bull crap. And there ain't no insects on December 24th when it was 22 degrees outside because it showed you the temperature. But if y'all have any experiences like that, let us know because we want to know about it. And if you don't want to share in the chat, email us or send us a message on Messenger, because I want to hear about it, because this actually happens to a lot more people than what you think and than what you know, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people are embarrassed to talk about it or ashamed because everybody thinks they're going to be crazy or a nutcase. Hey, Kim, welcome to the show. Nice to have you. Latro, the entire medical and dietary Medicaid industry complex is a lie. There's probably some truth to that. But, you know, you look at people that we got to be careful how we phrase things because how we're being watched, monitored on different platforms. But I agree to a lot of that. But, you know, when you have, what'd you call it when those things watch you?
The monitoring spirits.
Yeah, the monitoring spirits. You know, she let me listen to some podcasts when I was working on shows and some events to be booked for us to go to across America. And it was just like, wow, I didn't even know that about things like that. And how many times have you been somewhere and just animals show up or creatures or insects, like maybe just a couple or one or a bunch of them?
Rebecca, frogs are one that can be that a personal experience of mine. This was back, my oldest son was probably about 3, so he's 13, so about 10 years ago. I was very, very heavily doing meditative prayer and studying and everything, and I ended up experiencing a lot of spiritual attacks coming at me just because I was trying to connect with God. I had lived in an apartment complex, and every time I'd walk out my door, a bird would like fly and hit me in the head. Like every single time it would come after me. And then in the entire complex, we had frogs that came and ended up covering my entire apartment, no other apartment on the building. And they would sit and look in the windows and the doors. And I'm talking hundreds of frogs. It was very strange. And I ended up experiencing a very life-changing spiritual attack at that point. But that was one of the starting ones for me on that. And it happens. It's just part of it. Sometimes as you start growing and evolving into a spiritual being and connecting with the Lord, they warn you in the Bible of this and why it can be hard sometimes to be a Christian, but God does love you. He will always protect you. You just have to call out to him and develop that relationship.
So there's a lot of people making comments. I got a few of them marked. But, you know, like Michelle, she does a lot of cleansing as well. But like Kim says, you know what's weird? A few weeks ago, there was a creature in my shower, either a huge fat worm size of a pinky or a small snake. And it's like, you know, where does this come from? How does this happen? Now, ladies and gentlemen, you know, insects do, you know, survive indoors. And I'm not saying every time we see something indoors, it's a demonic creature or demonic figures disguising themselves. But I'm just saying, stop and think of what you're going through life. What's been happening through life? Is this a possibility? And Rebecca's like, Florida's open season year round for demonic insects. Yeah, I would have all kinds of stuff down there. But you just got to stop and think about it. But when you see stuff in the middle of winter, when it's -2 or 3 degrees outside, and you look out and there's nothing there, then you turn around and look again, and there's a little spider. It's not a jumping spider. It's bigger than a jumping spider. I don't know what kind of spider it is. But it just is not there. And it didn't crawl there. It just appears. That's what's weird. And then when you see a beetle not crawl or appear, but just, you know, just appears at the back door, like somebody said, like Rebecca the frog. Why would a frog be by the back door looking in? I'm just saying. I I don't have any scientific explanation for that. My question is what was going on in Rebecca's home at the time? What was you all doing? What was the conversation about? Because when we were talking to people and what we were talking about, hi, Irene, welcome to the show, is what was the context of the conversation? What was going on? Was there a dispute, an argument? Were you talking about something spiritual, God related, and trying to put the pieces together and see what was going on at the time that you see these things? Are you having vivid dreams? A lot of people discount dreams. We talk about this on the psychic shows about loved ones coming back. Nobody believe me being spiritually attacked.
I believe you. I believe you, Twisted.
A lot of people don't understand about being spiritually attacked. I think you or somebody said a lot of people call it bad luck. And I think years ago, I would call, man, that guy or that girl's always got that cloud hanging over them. But if you look at the context of things, generational curses are prevalent, and it's true. It talks about it in the Bible, biblical references. We talk about it on psychic shows. It's true, ladies and gentlemen. And some of the shows that you watch on TV, the horror shows, somebody has seen these demons, these demonic spirits, because they're pretty accurate from what I have been told and what Mary's told me before in descriptions and what people's posted in the movies or online. Are pretty close to what people have described. Rebecca says the frogs are creepy, but it's just strange, but a lot of people brush it off and don't think nothing of it. And then, for example, somebody, won't mention any names, that joined an organization, and what happened with him?
So this person was a chaplain, and then became and decided not to do that, and then joined a group that I know better. I'm not going to mention or name names, but as soon as they joined that group, all of a sudden, everything in their life that could possibly go wrong has gone wrong. Animals dying, financial problems, fighting all the time, health problems, nothing works, family members dying. And I mean, it is just boom, 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 boom. They can't catch a break.
I mean, how can you explain that, right? And you go from cut from the cloth to join an organization that may be questionable. I'm not saying it's totally bad, but it depends on what you think of this organization. It's a worldwide organization. And then everything goes upside down and goes in the opposite direction for many years. And it does not get any better. Is that coincidence? I don't know. I'm just saying. But it just makes you wonder what happens, what goes wrong, what is affecting you. Irene, my husband got attacked by ants in a tree that were the atomic bomb site, Hiroshima. Hiroshima. I can't ever say that word right. And she's shaking her head at me.
Hiroshima.
Yeah, Hiroshima. And I didn't get attacked, and I was picking up stones. And see, I mean, what does that mean? Why does that happen? I don't know. It's just weird. How can you explain stuff like that? Henry says snakes most likely. We reference snakes as to the serpent from the Bible, from the Garden of Eden, right? So the serpent. I don't know. Michelle, after I was out of the shower, I asked if it was the light bulbs that I just changed a month ago, or is it something else? And they blinked again. So see, that's a sign. Somebody was giving you a sign. I don't know if it was your angelic angels or your guardian angels. So, but yeah, it's just, you got to be careful about that. Now, Standing Stones want to know if it was a slug. So, But yeah, it's just crazy.
Even if it was a slug, do you know how hard it would be for a slug to go up the drain to be in a shower when there's like traps and everything in the drain? That's just very odd. That would happen.
I mean, where would a slug come from? You got to have cracks in your foundation. You got to have cracks in your walls to come through and everything else. A little twisted, and someone I thought was helping me stated mentally that was verbally abusing me during my healing. And that's another thing too, is, when you try to heal yourself, there's other forces that would try to prevent you, right? Well, thank you, a little twisted, for saying that for Mary and myself. But yeah, no, I got you. I understand what you're saying, Irene. But it is creepy, a little twisted. It's just, I don't know. How can you explain this? And then you look at the world today, right? And, what's going on. I don't know. But that was some of the things that we wanted to talk about tonight. And I'm glad you're all sharing your stories, because I knew beyond a reasonable doubt there were other people out there in the comments that had to have similar experiences. Seeing something, going through something, experience something, knowing something. John, I got a weird one for you. I was sleeping, felt something crawling on my hand and looked like a metallic spider or bug. Swallowed it, but couldn't find it on the floor. That's what I'm talking about right there. Explain that.
That would definitely, from what you're telling me, would be a monitoring spirit that manifested while you were sleeping to try to see. You have to understand, they pick up on everything, whether it's your vibration, the emotions you're outputting, what you're doing. When you're in that vulnerable state is when they really show up a lot. So especially anywhere from like 2 to 4 or 5 a.m. ish, that's when a lot of stuff. Now, not saying during the day or evening time they do show up, but at night when you're asleep and vulnerable, they show up very, very much. Have you ever went to bed and then woke up and like your jaw is hurting or your neck is so stiff that you can't hardly move it? A lot of times that's a spiritual attack and people don't even realize. Your ear is just hurting and it's all stuffed. They do stuff to mess with your hearing. They mess with your joints. They do anything and everything. It is the sole goal of the enemy to kill, steal, and destroy and divide. So they're going to take any means possible to bring you down. They don't like humans. You have to understand, in the spiritual realm, when it comes to dark forces, and every demon was once an angel. It's a fallen angel. And they don't get a second chance, but we do. And they hate us for it. And we are made in God's image and they were not. So there is an extreme amount of jealousy from the demonic realm up to humans, because God made us in his image and he gives us a second chance, and they don't, and they can never go back up to heaven. But we have a chance to get there. So they want to prevent us from getting there.
Standing Stone says, I've been saying, trying to say prayers every night for people who are left here and those who are still here. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good. Yeah, that's awesome. Michelle says, Standing Stones to Michelle's, there's a lot of blinking lights all over the country. She says, Michelle, I have a bar with 3 lights over the bathroom sink. Just changed all 3 about a month ago. Can't be the bulbs. Now, usually anytime that you have stuff like that, and you change the bulbs, hey, Nelda, welcome to the show. Yeah, there's some kind of activity you're experiencing. Absolutely. But no, if y'all have any questions like that and want to shoot them to us through the week, and we can answer them on the next show. And if you want to become a guest on the show and have conversations with us, let us know. Irene says, even paranormal investigators die from whatever when they're lost, and their last pictures were full of bad stuff. You got to be careful you can get sick and die. And Irene's right. My friend got an arrow marked on her stomach, and dread Native American spirits were angry. That happens a lot. You wouldn't believe certain places you go. Superstitious Mountain in America. And there are some other places in America. I can't name the mountains, but Native Americans supposed to have stashes of gold. And everybody that goes look for the gold ends up missing or found dead years later. And when they find the bodies, it's right off the trail. But when they search for them, they cannot find them. So they got specials on Tubi and Amazon Prime on that. So you just got to think about that. So I do believe in the national lore in the tribes. Irene says, my friend was hospitalized after I helped him. The doctor was amazed that the scratches on his head, but we couldn't tell anyone what I did. Because a lot of people think you're crazy. If you talk about this stuff to people that don't understand the Bible, they're not spiritual, don't think anything about heaven or hell, they think you're crazy or nuts.
And that's exactly where the enemy wants them.
Michelle says, I agree with that. Irene says, I meditated for 3 days before I do anything paranormal. Yeah, you got to say your prayers of protection before and after you do any paranormal investigations, because you never know what you're going to attract or deal with on any investigation in certain locations that have history. Michelle says, I've learned to embrace this stuff head on. So Rebecca says, I'm glad to see Irene. I am too. So Michelle said, I just found it on 2 spiders and a beetle in 1 week. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, early fall, late fall, maybe as the winter starts, I can understand it. But this time of year, it's just unheard of.
What we are trying to explain is like, it's in the middle of winter. All your windows are shut. All the doors are shut. There's no access entry point. And all of a sudden a fly appears flying around, or a spider out of like you're sitting there and looking at the carpet, and then you blink and all of a sudden there's a spider there. That's the type
Yeah,
of
it's not like it comes dangling from the ceiling or there's a cobweb. I mean, yeah, that's what we're talking about. Absolutely.
And so when it comes to spiritual attacks, a lot of times the enemy is very deceptive. They're going to use people and objects and different situations to try to keep you off track. Now, if you are smart and get on them and start praying, they're going to amp it up. So the closer and closer that you get to God, the closer and closer that you connect to source, the more and more you become a threat to them. The higher you bring and the more light that you bring in, they can't exist in that. So they get very, very upset, and they want to knock you off the train tracks as fast as they can. They can start manifesting physically, and they can cause you physical ailments. They can hurt you. I know from experience. I have had this happen. I have literally been picked up by a demonic entity by my throat and lifted 3 feet off the ground and choked. The only thing that gets rid of them is the Lord Jesus Christ. I have been laying there, and one of them in the middle of the night picked my son up by the leg and was pulling him up the ceiling. I've had my arm grabbed and slammed into a wall. But I was in my walk of getting close to God, and I kept praying what was going on, and I got to see everything. He opened me up so I could see what was going on. And I will never regret it. And I am thankful to this day, because those experiences has solidified my faith in the Lord. And so some people don't realize God will allow you to go through that, because it does just that. It helps you believe in him. And then when you rely on him, you know how to get rid of it. So a lot of people just get scared. You get scared, you're just going to attract it more. You just instantly get it to God. Come help me right now. And they will. And they can't exist when the Holy Spirit or Jesus enters a room. They disappear, and they will stay gone for a while. But if you slack or you start bringing something in or start hanging around the wrong people, wrong influences, guess what? They'll try again. They'll always try, but you can get rid of them and keep yourself protected.
Brown wants to know, what about other forms of animals in the house? Like lots of banging and dogs barking in the dark. I never had snails in my saltwater tank, and one appeared last night. Damn, that's strange.
Well, that would be, if you've never had that problem. Yeah, that's absolutely. And animals are very perceptive to spirits. Like, I don't know if you guys have cats and you see the cat like, and it's watching something, but there's nothing there, or a dog and they start getting, and the hair stands up on them. They'll start barking or growling at nothing. There's something there, and you need to pay attention to that. That's why animals, I mean, even if you go back into the biblical times, like the Egyptians and stuff and all those, they would keep cats in the castle. There was reasons for that. Those cats could pick up on spiritual attacks like that, so they can tell. Animals are a great, great reference. If you aren't there yet, your animals can pick up on it. Like, they can tell if somebody's a bad person. They can tell if there's a bad spirit. They can also tell good spirits. You know, and they pick up on that. They see the spiritual realm. Don't let anybody else tell you differently.
Yeah, Rebecca says, we had bats in their basement one time. And there was someone my husband worked with bragging about how powerful the black magic was. And they stopped as quickly as they started. Yeah, you got to be careful. You know, there's people, a lot of people say they can do spells and stuff. You got to be careful, because there are people that do know how to put spells and cast spells. So you got to be careful about stuff like that. And black magic is real. So yeah, little twist says, I do pay attention to my cat's demeanor.
Always should. If your animal doesn't like a person, pay attention to it. I used to do like mortgage closings, and I would go and do refinances at people's houses, but animals and children always love me. They come up to me. I could go into someone's house and they'd be like, oh, our cat hates everybody, just ignore it. And the cat would be like, boop, and sitting on my lap and coming up and licking my face. And they'd be like, I've never seen our cat ever do that. It hates everybody, but the cat liked me because I'm a good person and I love animals and I love people and I have a good heart and I am a true follower of God and Jesus. And animals can sense that. Like those people, and that happened to be numerous times with people's animals, because they'd be afraid. And do I need to put my animal up? No, you're fine. I get along just fine with animals. And they'd come up, sit on my lap while I'm doing a closing.
Now, Kim says she's the same way, Mary.
Yeah, that's a good sign. Yeah, people like that could, I mean, I can go anywhere and little kids will come up, animals. It's always been that way. And certain people are called to that. Yeah, babies. Babies always love them, you know, they'll calm down and everything. Let me hold them when they won't let anybody else hold them or touch them. They'll freak out with everybody else. I'm like, here, you know, and hold them. They do, Nilda. They absolutely do. They see spirits. Babies, when a baby is born, human babies, their spiritual eye is open. Have you ever seen a little baby and you walk up and they're staring above your head? They're looking at your aura, or if they see any spirits surrounding you, they can see and sense it. But because our culture doesn't nourish our children to keep that open, it starts closing off about 5-6 years old. That's why if you have a toddler and they can talk, you'll notice toddlers are very, very perceptive, almost psychic abilities. I know both my boys were, but I also work with my boys on that to try to keep them open. But most parents don't do that, and then they end up losing those innate abilities that God gave them.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any future topics you want us to discuss, send us a message or email us, and we'll see if we can cover them. And hopefully you have a blessed night, and Godspeed to everybody.
If anybody ever feels like they need a spiritual healing, just reach out to us and we can get it set up. It's life-changing. It will propel you to your purpose. It's amazing what God can do for you. And so just always know that that is available, and just reach out. And topics, anything that you guys want to bring up, like he said, get a hold of us. Let us know. We'll get you talked to and cover a topic that you have that you want to hear more about. We'll be happy to do that.
See you on the next show at 9, everybody. Bye-bye.